Hey everybody, Weem here. Welcome to Of Kings and Men. This is a third party, as they describe it, a third party, a third person multiplayer persistent medieval war game. This game has actually been on my radar for a while because it had elements, at least in the initial trailers and everything, that reminded me of things like Life is Feudal or Worm Unlimited, in that you can kind of build a settlement and work with other players to, craft and build things, but also go to war with other people. And that's, I really like that kind of stuff, the whole building up of a community, and then, having the opportunity for some PvP stuff. So what I thought I would do is bring you in here and quickly give you a run through of my experience so far, and give you a quick idea of what's going on as best as I understand it up to this point. So, Of Kings and Men basically has a lot of features coming to the game, and so many of them I'm really excited about. Unfortunately, none of the things I'm really excited about are part of the early access element. Right now, the early access literally just consists of combat, large groups of two factions going against each other to capture a flag, for example. Now, the combat is kind of fun. They actually call it dynamic combat. Their description says fight with a fast-paced and intuitive combat system based on the experience of historical European martial arts, HEMA, fighters, and medieval manuscripts. So you've got different stances, and you can kind of position by holding the mouse and then moving it in certain directions. You have different stances, and when you let go, you'll attack from that stance. Otherwise, you're kind of in a defensive position. It's pretty interesting. It took me a little bit to get the hang of. At this point, I've played about an hour and a half. I'm still pretty terrible. I had some okay moments, and I'm probably playing for you some of my better moments in the background, or at least some of my okay moments, because I had plenty of horrible ones. There is a nice learning curve there, but I do feel like after an hour and a half I'm starting to get the hang of it. But again, that's the primary focus of the game right now for early access. Battles can have these 200 players going at it. I think so far in what I've experienced in just two groups, two factions, going against each other. You have skills that you can practice and kind of level up essentially. Progress, and then there is a progression through the different gear and weapons and everything. You've got a couple different choices for weapons. You've kind of got some armor that you're set with, and as you play, you gain experience. And for example, if I use an axe and I'm playing for a while, I'll get up to like 5,000 experience, and so I can choose one of these two new options. I believe it's for the axe. So basically, you open up more options the more you play and use different things. So it's a pretty interesting system. It's not anything grand or brand new, but I think with the stances and everything and kind of the realism they're going for, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, as I mentioned, those are kind of the big elements right now for early access. And again, a lot of the stuff I'm really excited about is not yet here. So while I did jump in and play around with combat and everything, I'm really excited about the things to come and see how they handle them. I did a good amount of melee combat. It actually came after I did ranged. I was kind of wanting to stay back a bit, kind of get used to things, but I did switch and was using an axe and a shield, going through those different things. I used a polearm at one point. I really wanted to get the stances down, try to get the hang of that, using defensive stuff. You'll see me, I shield bash, sometimes I kick. Those actually felt really fun. It was good to actually hit people with those when they wouldn't defend. A lot of times they would get blocked, but when you crack someone with your shield or give them a good kick, it was actually pretty cool. They stagger a little bit. I try to step in and follow with a nice swing or something in my weapon and try to take advantage of that. Positioning is very important in the game. I found people are moving around each other, which is pretty standard and everything. You can't run all over the place and jump everywhere. It's not too crazy. But you do want to obviously try to keep somebody in front of you, and every little hit counts. Sometimes it's one hit and you're down. Sometimes maybe it's just two. So the positioning and making sure you have the stances going and your defense is up, at all times as best you can. It's hugely important. So it's very interesting. But the ranged was also very interesting to me. I wanted to try some of the archery stuff, and that was actually, it's very straightforward. You use the bow, you right click to aim, left click to fire. Obviously you have some curvature there, there's a drop, so I had to play around with that and get used to the range a bit, but I really did enjoy doing that. It's funny because the arrow takes a little bit to get there, and people are constantly moving, and so you find yourself just missing quite a bit, or every once in a while striking your ally, which is no good. You'll get messages saying that you will be kicked if you continue to do that. It makes it a little difficult when there's large groups all fighting each other. But yeah, the other thing to note too when you're playing ranged is that you are very crunchy. If somebody moves up to you, they can take you down very quickly. You have no defense. You can switch to like a actual melee weapon, but you know, an axe or something. But I actually didn't discover that until well into my playtime. I saw someone else do it. I died and you can fly the camera around, and I was just watching the combat. I saw an archer guy, he stepped back and pulled out an axe, and I was like, oh wow, I need to probably start doing that. So I did that a few times here and there, but yeah, when you're sitting there with your bow firing down range, it can be very jarring to have someone suddenly next to you swinging at you, because people move all over the place. But yeah, it was actually very fun experience so far. So they released a video for this a while back. It was really interesting. It kind of followed these men on horseback riding through a town area. There was a point where players seemed to be pointing at an NPC to highlight them, and then would highlight a tree, and the NPC would run over and start chopping the tree. I think that's one of the things that stood out to me the most, was that I was seeing a lot of stuff that reminded me of other games, but when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, I'd love to like have people like NPCs that I can give orders to that can help me build stuff. Because in games like this, oftentimes you're doing something by yourself. It's very time consuming, and I've always thought that would be cool to have people there to help, not necessarily have to be players, but actually NPCs. So I mentioned horses. I'm kind of, you know, thinking of the features that I was really excited about that are not quite there yet. The horseback riding seemed really cool. There's custom weapons on the list. I haven't seen that in action, but I like the idea of that. Definitely like the idea of customizing things. Weather and wildlife are things that are coming. I'm really interested to see how that goes too. What the mix is. I'm always interested in the combination of like aggressive animals or aggressive wildlife to non-aggressive, and what kind of mix that is. You know, in some games it's heavily favored one way or the other, so I'm really not sure what their plan is for this game, but keeping an eye out for that. Custom castles, of course, I'm very interested in that. Building, I just love building, crafting, things like that, so I'm definitely excited about that. I mentioned the NPC workforce, so that's another thing, and then of course faction management. There is a big overlay map, and they show kind of forces moving in and rearranging, and it seemed like that might be a gameplay kind of thing, that you might have this map where you control maybe where armies move. And then maybe that just jumps into an area, you know, to fight in. I'm not sure. What I mean by that is, I don't know if you actually say, hey everybody, let's gather on our horses and ride long distance to go fight. It could be that you're on an overhead map and you instigate these battles, and you're automatically brought into those battles as if it were these matches that we're currently seeing, where you each spawn on each side of a flag and you rush towards each other. I could see it going that way, but I do like the idea of having one big large map that you actually move, you know, troops. You physically have to move them between areas, but I think I would probably be okay with either one of those scenarios, as long as the crafting and the building and everything were really cool. That matters a little bit less to me than it probably does for others. So I think that pretty much wraps this up. Again, I just wanted to make a very quick video because I've had a number of people asking if I was going to play this, and right now there's really not much there. There's the combat, and it's not enough to, you know, maintain my interest for a long period of time. I might jump into this one more time, and maybe I spend another hour and a half, so I might have maybe 3 hours, but my full intention is basically to uninstall the game and then wait for some of the bigger features to come along. I would assume those are, you know, going to be a ways down the road. I don't know, I haven't really looked into the game too much. I haven't followed it, you know, super closely. But there are things I'm very excited about, and I'm going to have to kind of wait till those get in there to play with them. But I am very excited about them nonetheless. I like what I'm seeing so far. There are some things that obviously need to get worked out. It's early access though, and again, it's hard for me to kind of judge a game like this because the combat to me is not the interesting element. It's not what I would be there for when I know the features that are coming. But I do know when I was playing, a lot of people were really enjoying themselves, having a lot of fun and everything, so that was kind of cool. So anyway, I hope that kind of helps you get an idea of what's currently there, maybe some ideas of what's coming, and maybe it will help you decide whether it's a game you want to look into or not. I do want to thank you guys for stopping in and watching. As always, I appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.